So, what I'm going to do right now is play a little bit of my second story for the Quiet Sleep. I'm calling it Songcraft. This is the first video I'm making of it, so I'm a little bit excited to show people what I've been doing. This one is somewhat different from the Quiet Sleep in that where the Quiet Sleep was actually, when you get down to it, a pretty linear story. There is only so much leeway in your ability to change what happens. This one is much more open in its structure. So the goal is straightforward. There's only one. There's only one goal, and there's only really one way to get there. But you have a lot more wiggle room in your approaches to that goal. So I'm just going to go over a little bit of it. I'm not going to play the full thing out now. It's a lot longer than the Quiet Sleep. So we'll just go through maybe the first 10-15 minutes of it, and you can also see all of the improvements I've made to the core. So let's start. Things weren't what you wanted them to be. It's time to start fresh. You've already quit your job and cleaned your mind. Now all that's left is to show everyone that you can be a success. Good luck. Alright, so what the game starts us with is these four things: ambition, the music, the lover, and strength and quitting job. So let's take a look at them. Here we have our first goal, where we take strength in the fact that we've quit our job. Quitting your job to pursue music is impressive, but will you let yourself accept that? Where the kind of person you're playing is a fairly common personality, where it's just sometimes hard to accept when you have done something good, you know? So it's going to take an actual application of willpower to take strength in what you've just done, right? But we're not going to do that just yet. Instead, what we're going to do is look at our three traits. We see ambition over here, where we can create another resource to make some will, or we can create a tower to help us deal with emotions as they come up. And we also have a couple of goals here. Now we're going to start straight up with just making a second tower to make will, because you need will to build everything in the game. So I'm just going to place that probably here is good. So that way we get to keep this central space to help deal with emotions as they come up. And at the same time, it's reasonably close to the self that it's likely not to waste that much time when we're building new things. So now we just start that train. You saw I started it by picking up will here, and then I just clicked on the self to actually get it rolling, and we'll unpause the game. Okay, so now that this is done, let's take a look at what we want to do next. Now this requires 2 will, but we still have so much time left that we're going to try to use our will a little more profitably. So over here we have the music, right? This is the trait that represents how important the music is to you, right? I mean, it's just important. So over here we can build towers that make music, or we can build goals to listen to music together, which would be with the lover. Hence it requires music and social of the lover. Or we could start a new song, which again requires will. So we're going to push that a little bit further, and we're just going to come here. So this is the trait representing the lover, and here we can spend time, or express our need, or gain resolve, and we can speak of the new start. Now that's where we want to go right now, right? Because that's going to unlock a fair bit for us. So we'll just put this down, probably around here. Seems reasonable. We want it to be close, because that way our train will go faster. So now we'll just connect this up. You can see the entire trait is already connected to each other. So we just need to link it like that, and we'll even put one here to make that much faster. Now this, once it's completed, requires social. So let's just build something to get that as well. Alright, and now we'll unpause, let that run a little bit. Right, you can see we're applying our will to start this goal and to get ourselves to socialize, as it were. So over here you can see this new goal. It says speak of new start. The lover always wanted you to follow your dreams, and now you finally are. This requires 3 social. So we'll just unpause the game to get that social, and then start it up. So now we still have plenty of time on this goal, so I'm going to build a little bit more over here. Just going to build a music tower like we talked about earlier. And I'm going to get ready to start a new song. Okay. This is a good time to tell you that this game still is being iterated on. The story in particular is still being iterated on. A couple of placeholders here that I'm not happy about, like the fact that this goal and this tower have almost exactly the same image. If you look carefully, you can see the patterns are different, but that's a little subtle, so I don't really consider that enough. So anyway, we're starting this up, going to get that new goal, and meanwhile this goal is being completed. Oh, so the game automatically pauses when you have a new goal, and it shows you what you're waiting on. So now we can start a new song. This requires an application of will, and this requires us to use the music we've been building up with this tower here. So I'm just going to start a train to do that. And now we're cutting it a little bit close, so we'll actually finally finish this goal too. Okay? Just like that. Okay, so we've completed Speak of New Start. This is exactly what the lover always wanted to hear. So let's see what we unlocked as a result. We've unlocked two new traits, the romance trait and the friendship trait. So we'll just inspect the friendship one over here, and we can see we can share joy with the lover, we can convert love into care, and we can use care to damage anger and sadness, right, by venting to the lover. Also, we can accept our alienation from the lover, but that requires alienation, and we've got no way of producing that now. We can hang out with the lover, which requires cheer, which again we just don't have yet. Or we could be cared for, which requires need, and that we can actually get from right here if we wanted to, but we're not going to do that just yet. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to start building up our defenses, okay? And we're going to do that by building this share joy tower, which will damage joy, right? And all that needs is social, so we can just hook that up and let things run a little bit. Meanwhile, you can see we're still starting our new song. And we completed taking strength and quitting our job, right? Now this has unlocked a deposit of strength, which is nice and expected, but it's also unlocked this over here, right? So this is two parts. One is our inner demons. It's a trait to represent that. And the second is a goal on that to prove our success, right? You'll show them all. And that requires a fair bit of actual success. And we've got a lot of time to finish it off, but it's difficult to find success, right? This right here is the main goal of the game. The entire game is about whether or not you can complete this goal. So we're a far way away from even starting on that right now. So let's take a look at the other thing we unlocked, which is strength, right? Now what can we use strength for? We can use it to build a callousness tower, which again will bolster our defenses against the various emotions in the game. So we'll just set that up too, and we'll set it up right here because you can see most emotions will have to go through this path here to get to the self. So that's a nice defensible point. Similarly, if you look here, there are basically from any point in this area, there are two ways for an emotion to get to the self. It can go through here or it can go through here. So by placing this tower over here, we're likely to get anything that passes by. However, of course, this tower will only damage joy because that's what it's about. It's about sharing joy. Whereas this callousness tower will damage all of the emotion that goes through. And we set it up. So we've started a new song, and now we have a sadly poor song, right? What will this be? So you have a tower that will convert easy problems with will and music to song satisfaction, but we have no easy problems to solve yet. And we have goals where we can face the failings of the song, which requires resolve, see if you're satisfied, which requires satisfaction with the song, or integrate hard work into the song, which requires hard work. Now, right now we have absolutely none of these, right? We don't have resolve, song satisfaction, or hard work. We can, however, get resolve, if you've been paying attention, from the lover, right? Which will let us gain resolve. Now this requires will and self-esteem, and we have the will, but we have no self-esteem just yet. Where we can get self-esteem is from the romance trait, right? Which lets us fish for compliments, which will help boost our self-esteem. However, we're not going to do that just yet, because now all of our will has been freed up. So we're just going to build a second social mine here, and a second music mine over here. Because that way we can do a lot more of both of these actions. Right? Meanwhile, you can see this tower is still getting built. So now that this is complete, once again we have will free. So we're going to go back to this romance trait and go back to this goal to fish for compliments and build that right here. Right? Now this, when it's completed, as you saw, will require social and music. So by building it here, we'll make that path fairly efficient. What we're also going to do is start listening to music together. Since we have 2 of each of these, we can support both these activities. Right? Meanwhile, you can see this share joy tower has been completed, so we're better able to keep happiness from overwhelming us. Which, your mileage may vary on that activity. So over here, listening to music required music and social, so we clicked on the music, clicked on the social, and now we're going to click on the self to complete the train, and you can see these 3 are in use. This was also completed, which also requires the same. So we're going to click on that social, click on the music, and then let that train run too. So now let's just see what... Oh, actually, now we've got a bunch of will just getting ready. So we'll set up this tower now. And we'll also set up this goal, just to use up this will while we have it. Cool. So let me just pull that in, and there we go. Oh, we just let a chance for a minor flirtation come up. Are you going to let this chance slip by? And sadly, I think we will. It requires social, and it doesn't require much social, but all of our social is wrapped up right now, and I don't want to divert it to this flirtation. So we're just going to let this run. So we completed fishing for compliments, and this has unlocked a self-esteem deposit that holds 6 of our self-esteem, which we will soon use for the resolve. Right now though, I think we're going to build a second one of this and just really crank up our self-esteem while we're not doing that much. Oh, so we've completed listening to music together, and we hit the bad result. You have not found anything new, but you can't complain about spending time with the lover like this. Fair enough. So here also, I would like to rebuild it, but you can see we have no will. Oh, now we do. So now we have a choice, right? We can start this goal, which requires resolve, which we have, but that requires social and will. So if we do that, our will be too tied up to rebuild that listen to music together goal, which is what I actually want a little more right now. So I'm just going to run that instead. Okay. So now this goal was completed, so we can just restart that train, and similarly we restart this train. Let both of those run. So now we have a fair bit of free will, so we can actually just run this like so, and we can also start this goal that we've been pushing off to derive strength, which will get us a little more strength to play with. It just very slowly converts will into strength. So we'll let that go. Ooh, meanwhile, this just popped up right here, which is lover happiness created by fishing for compliments. So basically all of the compliments we fished for have made us quite happy. So there are a bunch of things we can build on this new source of happiness that we have, but we've got no will. So we're just going to leave it alone for right now. So here we can start deriving strength, which as you can see takes a lot of will. But first I'm actually going to build something on this trait, right? I want to build this recharge tower to get us even more will. This converts cheer into will, and you can see we're creating cheer from this trait all the time. So I'm just going to set that up right here, and we'll let this happen. Once again, you can see this opportunity has popped up, but we just don't have the bandwidth to finish that right now. So I'm just going to let it go. And you see, we fished it for even more compliments. Now, however, we have a second trait that's popped up, which is sadness. We're feeling drained, and that's making us sad, and it's created by facing the failings of our song. So over here, again, we can build some stuff, but I'm not interested in that right now. However, I will point out something to you. This one creates joy, which this damages, so that's fairly well defended. However, this creates sadness, which passes right by our sharing joy tower. We still have this one callousness tower up, but that is our only line of defense between this sadness and ourself. So we're just going to let this run. We've created this trait has created a goal asking us not to drown in self-pity, and if we fail this, it'll kill all of the self-esteem we've been accumulating. So I'm just going to start a train to kill that with the cheer we have from this happy memory. And in fact, I'll just hook up these two traits like that to make it a little bit more efficient of a path. So we completed listening to music together, and this time it was a success. So we've unlocked a new trait, the new music trait. So what used to be the trait just on the importance of music to us has become a trait representing the new music we've just discovered, right? And that lets us build this new tower. It also gives us access to these goals, but right now, since we have no will, we're just going to ignore that whole thing. You can see the sadness got hit by the callousness, but the joy got caught much earlier. So now now that this has been completed, we're going to build up our strength so that we can build up even more callousness. And once we stop using this chair, we're going to put a couple of towers here, I think, to take advantage of this new music that we discovered. Right, so we've faced the song's failings, and this has unlocked a new goal for us, to understand the song's failings. It's not enough to accept failures, you need to understand them as well. Now the thought that this requires, we can get from this trait, where we can brute force the problem, taking resolve in music and generating thought. But to build this, we need will, which now, very happily, we have. Because the will we were using to generate resolve to face the problems has now been freed up. So we're just going to set this up and let things run a little bit. Meanwhile, you can see we're just feeling more and more drained from that goal, right? And the sadness is coming straight into us. You can see that the callousness tower had 5 charges, but all of those charges have been exhausted on the sadness from this goal. So we've got no defenses at all for this. Meanwhile, this tower has also very heavily depleted, so we'll actually just start a new train here to add some, to recharge it. You see, the sadness actually got to our trait, and that caused us to lose control for a little while, so nothing ran. Meanwhile, we have this additional will, and we have this. We still have 9 self-esteem, which should be more than enough, so we'll just set up this train. In fact, let me explain that a little better, instead of just jumping into it. So, to understand the failings of the song, we need thought, which requires resolve in music. Music is right here, that was easy. And resolve we can get from here. Now resolve requires self-esteem and will. And now that we've set up that, that's the entire train right there. So we can just hook it up here and let that run. Well, we still have a little more will over here, but I don't see any good place to use it. I think I'll just build an additional goal here to fish for compliments. We'll see how that goes. However, we have got to avoid drowning in self-pity, and that's really important because it'll kill all of our self-esteem, which we are using right now to understand the failings of the song. So I'm actually going to right now we're using up our cheer to produce will to build this new goal, and I'm actually going to let that finish running, and then once that's happened we'll probably have enough time to complete that. Excellent, so we've completed deriving strength, which has given us strength, but I would actually like to derive even more strength, and then we'll build a second callousness tower, because this has only given us 3 where we need 5 for each of these towers. So now I'm just letting this run. You can see this is ticking down. We're cutting it a little closer than I'd like. So we'll see how that goes. Meanwhile, this new goal has been built, so we'll just let that happen. And we have yet another goal to keep the fresh music alive, which takes 3 music. Now, I just don't feel like that's important enough to devote resources to right now, so I'm just going to let that go. And this is completed. So for this we needed social and music to fish for compliments, and we're just going to do that. And to avoid drowning in self-pity, once again we just need cheer, so I'm just going to do that too. Alright. So now we're just going to let this run, and we completed fishing for compliments, which got us some more self-esteem, and it looks like we ended up drowning in self-pity. We cut it a little too close with that right now, so that self-esteem we just got has completely disappeared, and as a result this too has gotten quite delayed. So you can see how these things cascade, right? Where it's all limited resources and you can only put them in so many places. So what I'm going to do right now is just rebuild this goal here to get us back that self-esteem. But we managed to have enough to finish this goal anyway. So now in order to, so now that we've understood the failings of our song, we've had 2 things happen. We've got a new goal, not to give up, and we've got another goal, which is our dissatisfaction with the song. So let's look at both of those. So over here, we've been disillusioned with our song, right? After all of that process of going through its failing. So this goal asks us, are you really going to waste more time on this garbage? And it requires resolve not to give up. Now if you remember, resolve requires self-esteem, which we don't have any of right now because we failed to avoid drowning in self-pity. Additionally, we have this new trait, which allows us to push ourselves to get even more will, and to identify issues with the song, to discard the song, and to restart work. Now there's no point in discarding the song. We worked so hard to get to this point, we don't really want to throw it away. And there's no point in restarting work on this song just yet either, because what we want to first do is identify the issues so that we can work on them, right? So what we really want to do here is identify the issues, which requires thought again. And then once we've done that, our problems will divide themselves into easy work, technical work, and emotional work, and each of which requires different inspiration to complete, right? However, having said that, I think that this is far enough for the first video. So thanks for watching. I hope you're interested, and I'll do another one soon enough.